we have his blessing to continue as he joins us later. So he's on the way at some point. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that announcement. You can hear there are various students here, there are various teachers, and the students are doing very well. So we are happy about that. Dr. Daya was actually in that class with Professor Gitau, isn't it? Very good. So I see we have a number of representatives. We have about 5 minutes for each person. So if you could try and keep the time so that we don't extend up to the tea break. If we do that, then the tea break is out. Yeah. And we don't want to do that. Kenya is a tea consuming country and producing country. We want to take our tea. So let's start with the remarks from a representative from Washington State University, Professor Guy Palmer, kindly.
Thank you. I will not stand in the way of, but it will not be my fault if tea is canceled. I do want to kind of just thank the University of Nairobi for hosting us again. I think as many of you know, WSU, many universities have partnerships around the world. WSU is a bit different. This is our partnership with the University of Nairobi. It is the one that defines what we're doing as a university. So you can have MOUs with any number of universities. I think the partnership we have here is very special. And that's kind of exemplified by the faculty that we have here. They're here all the time. They work with the University of Nairobi. They're really interdigitated with them. Our wonderful staff, they call them WSU Global Health Kenya, but it's really one WSU. We just operational call it WSU Global Health Kenya, but it's really all of WSU. And the initiatives like SEMA, led by the University of Nairobi, but then partnering with WSU as part of that. So it's really been a fantastic partnership. I think as many of you know, our president was here last year, the president of the university, because I'm about to mention several presidents. The president of the university, Kirk Schultz, was here. He's been here on several different occasions. He and VC Kiyama have a strong partnership. And now we're taking it up one level because we've actually put briefing papers together which have gone to the White House for President Ruto's meeting with President Biden, which is happening today. So they're discussing the partnership between Washington State University and the University of Nairobi. There may be other issues they have to get to, but I want them to start with the most important ones first. So I do want to thank, because we're here all the time, we're not project dependent. That's a real important part of what Washington State University does with the University of Nairobi, is we're not project dependent. We're not going anywhere depending on any given project. It's a long-term partnership, which is exemplified by our joint degree that we're putting together for the joint PhD program. I think one of the important things, I'm now starting to worry about tea break here, so I got to get to it, is the Animal Health Innovation Lab. Through that, the partnership actually extends out to many other partners. I just want to thank the individuals from Narok County for hosting us. They're part of this partnership. The Department of Livestock, Director of Veterinary Services, Calro, Kemri, ILRI. For those of you who don't know, the first director, back when it was ILRAD, the first director of the International Laboratory for Research on Animal Diseases, was a Washington State University faculty member, so from the College of Veterinary Medicine. So a long history there. And I do want to thank USAID, both the DC office and our local office, for their support for this project. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Palmer. At least now you are off the hook for the tea issue. So we'd like to hear now a representative of the External Advisory Board. Yes, Patricia. Professor Patricia.
Distinguished Professor Emerita. So it sounds important and it gets less important. No, thank you very much. I just have to say how really honored and pleased I am to be here. And on the behalf of our External Advisory Committee, it looks like Professor George Waimwe from the University of Oxford, he's not here, right? But we did get a chance to meet him. We had a very successful online review of the program about a month and a half ago, and he was there. And also good to hear that that Tyrell Kahan is here. He's always been a good supporter of this program, and then Dr. Palmer and myself. I think one of the most important things in terms of the External Advisory Committee is to don't think of us as your critics. That's not the role that we play. We are here because we care deeply about the work you're doing, about this partnership. In my case, I care deeply about the disease that you're working on. And so I'll just confess that East Coast fever is entirely the reason that I went on to become a research scientist, rather than a large animal veterinarian out in the hills of Colorado, because I think it's the most fascinating parasite and an important disease, and it's what led me to doing a PhD at the University of Edinburgh. And then I was a postdoc across the street at ILRAD, and for 4 years. That's where I actually met Dr. Palmer, not quite 40 years ago. So it's a fascinating disease, so I'm fascinated by the work that you're doing, and I am also very impressed, as the young lady back there said, with the team effort, the way you're viewing things, working together, and that and mentorship are important. So the most important thing I'd like to emphasize is don't be shy, please. In the time that we're together over the next 4 days, please don't hesitate to come up and talk with us, okay? With Guy, with myself, because what you're doing, I think, is very important. Even when I interviewed for veterinary school, if you can believe it, at Colorado State University, the University of Nairobi came up in the discussion because Colorado State University had a collaboration with you. So at so many different levels, I feel this is coming back around, and I, for one, the nice thing about being retired is you have the time, and I'd really love to hear about what everyone's doing. I love that this program has so many graduate students because you are the future. How you manage your not just your project, but the future of your career, and that the impact that you have is going to be very important. So please come up, chat over tea. I'll leave now, so we have tea over which to chat, and over the next 4 days. Thank you.
That was very good, keeping of time. And now we want to hear remarks from the USGI DC representative, Dr. Emma. Karibu. You have African hair, so.
Okay, I'm a big fan of tea, so I'm going to try and not talk too long. But yeah, thank you for having me here. Yeah, like I said before, I come from Washington, D.C., USAID REFS representative. So I wanted to acknowledge the local government officials from Narok County, as well as all of our University of Nairobi colleagues. So yeah, as everyone's mentioned, I feel like the work from this Innovation Lab is very impressive, and I really appreciate how you connect the livestock health to livelihoods here in Kenya. As you all know, this program is not only about infectious disease control and prevention, but also about supporting the nutrition and the economic growth of these smallholder farmers here. So this really supports all of the 3 top-line goals of our global food security strategy in terms of nutrition, resilience, and agriculture-led economic growth. And also our updated global food security research strategy in terms of supporting nutrition and food systems through increased access to safe and nutritious animal source foods, and climate-smart agriculture by decreasing these animal disease burdens. I also want to highlight the localization work that you're doing in supporting all these great research students and building local capacity for this type of research. And also the unique position you're in with having your Innovation Lab director here in country, which makes a huge difference. Also supporting or acknowledging the convergence research that you're doing, not only with the scientific aspect, but also looking at economics and with that strong gender focus, and taking that One Health approach to look at the animal health and human health aspects. So, while acknowledging the impressive work that you're doing with vaccine development for East Coast fever and diagnostic tool development, as long as that's socioeconomic research, as you continue, I think, at USAID Washington, we're thinking about adoption of these new innovations. So I know you already have a lot of that kind of, research from the community in terms of adoption, but just looking ahead at leveraging these multi-stakeholder platforms that you have to help scale the eventual, deployment of these tools that you're developing now. So I'm really excited to hear more about the details of what you've been doing and think about what's ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a good presentation and keeping time. And now we'd like to hear from the representative of the USAID. Yes, Dr. Ernest Njoroge. He'll tell you more about himself when he comes here.
I can't wait for tea. So I have to be very brief. And particularly most of the issues have been mentioned by my colleague Emma. But I'm very, very happy to be here. Every time I come here, I really feel at home. Because I was a student here, I also worked here, and I can see some of my teachers like Professor Mainge here, Professor George Gitau, Professor Ngohio, Professor Mande. So it's a great pleasure to be here. And thank you so much for organizing this meeting. And USAID is very, very proud of this program because of the partnerships that it has created. We find a very, very strong partnership between various institutions, Washington State University, University of Nairobi, the government of Kenya, both at national and county level, ILRI, we have Carro. I cannot mention all of them. So it's such a nice partnership because when we work together, we achieve more, and and there's greater sustainability. Even if an institution works alone, then it doesn't create as much impact as when there is partnership. And just to repeat what Emma said, we are very, very proud because of the capacity building of young professionals that the program is focused on. You find that one of the biggest challenges that we have in Kenya and in African countries is competent professionals, and competence is really, really required at technical level. So we are creating future scientists that will be leaders within very few years to come. So thank you for the effort that you are making. It is great. And my last point is the impact that the program is creating among the livestock producers, among the communities.
Dr. Mwema, that are being implemented in Narok South. This is a partnership that we are very proud of, and I want to tell you people that it is changing lives and impacting on the communities down in Narok. Some of the areas that we are collaborating in include nutrition and some in zoonosis that is being led by Dr. Mwema. And for those who have been in Narok, know that we have great interaction between wildlife, human, and the environment, largely because of the Masai Mara National Reserve and also the private conservancies that surround that place. And therefore, seeing this project working on zoonosis, it has great interest to us, and we know that it's going to impact greatly on the livelihoods down there. So we are happy to host this project. In the next coming days, when we are doing the field visit, I'm sure we'll be together. And as Professor Dhombe has said, that we are here to think about the future. When you think about that future, factor Narok in. And you are very most welcome for those who have not visited Narok. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, we want to hear from the representative of the County Director of Veterinary Services, Narok County. Is he here? Gideon? Yes. Karibu.
Good mornings. Yeah, it's a good day, a cool one, and I think we are recovering also from the rains. Narok has had quite some impact. So we are happy to be partners with this program, and we know that Narok is quite unique and very applicable to this kind of research, and also other upcoming, like in zoonotic areas. We really have these common problems of anthrax, brucellosis, rabies. Every time, almost every month, we have cases of bites, human bites, and occasionally some deaths, a lot of rampant brucellosis. Yeah, so concerning the current research on ECF and nutrition, I think it is a very unique approach. ECF is a major problem. At the moment, we have tick-borne disease outbreaks with mixed infections that have actually wreaked havoc in the last few months. And the expressions have been quite different, not what we read from the books. And this has really been an issue and a worry among pastoralists. But from the examinations of done, the results from the national reference laboratories, they're just mixed infections, ECF, Anaplas, and Babesia, some of them complicated by trips. But this is mainly in Narok West, is where we have most of the cases, and that's also where we have the National Park Community Interface. So there's probably something to do with that. But we know that we are expecting a surge in tick-borne infections, so probably even in the area that's covered by this research in Narok South, probably similar expressions might come up. So probably I would like to apologize for starting with true, but what I didn't know is what kind of fences he was imagining for some mission or running away from an aborted mission or something like that. But true does enable you or enhance that kind of activity. So glad to see my classmates like Aboge, to Russia here. You just feel at home when you find them. Probably my only comment in this program is to say that research by design or default is a kind of top-down phenomenon. It's in the high echelons, but it is good that we can reach down to the lowest levels of the society. And as we do that, we are requesting for greater inclusion, because this is a thing that research in all aspects from all institutions is kind of evading. There isn't as much inclusion with maybe professionals or service providers at the county or at the grassroots. So it is important that we design from the design level, that we try to increase or enhance or mainstream inclusion, training, capacity. For example, some of the tests that can be done in these researches, simple microscopy, initial kind of analysis of samples can be done at our labs to increase the capacity, the exposure, and transfer technology also to our personnel. This is our call, our rallying call, and even in the design of new programs. This is all that we are asking. And I think it's in this very podium that I heard that there's nothing about us without us, sometimes back last year. So we are really requesting for this kind of inclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gideon. We gave you a few more minutes because you are hosting us in Narok. Otherwise, we are going to. Yeah, so now I'm going to hand over this session to Professor Gitau, who will take us through the next presentations. Thank you very much, everybody, for being attentive. Tea will be served.
Wow, it's amazing. One of the other very tall students that I enjoyed working with is Dr. Alum. I think I saw you here, Alum. Moses. He's the same height as our colleague here, Gideon. And I think I enjoyed a lot of interaction with Olum and et al. In my office, and that's why you can see he's still following research. I take this opportunity to make just a few remarks. Some will be repetition, so I won't overemphasize. Appreciating USAID for coming on time, although we worked hard to compete, but the minute we won the grant, we have become very, very close partners. So thank you very much. And this is what came to my mind while I was seated here, that you trusted us in very little amount of money for the grant. Now you can trust us for about 3 or 4 times because you can see our efficiency and effectiveness. So there should be no doubt in the future that this is where the next flow of grants should come. The University of Nairobi, and especially the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. I also want to appreciate the other partners that we've worked with, WSU, IRI, KEMRI, CARO, and the government, because although there are now 2 levels of government, state and county, but you can see how we work very well with both levels. And that's why the DVS is with us here. The key milestones we have accomplished in what we can describe as a record time because of efficiency and efficacy is setting up the lab, which is now fully functional. It can be a challenge, but I think because of teamwork, we were able to move very fast with the support of the university systems, because what the University of Nairobi did when Kiama came on board is to try to give autonomy to projects so that the principal investigator is the head of that grant. So it's managed directly as opposed to in the past where it could still follow under Department of Faculty. So it means a lot of, if in trade we call trade barriers or research barriers have been removed, and therefore we can move very, very fast. So that's a compliment to the reforms that have come to the University of Nairobi. And then for those who will still be here by tomorrow and you start hearing the performance of the student, within 3 years, it's amazing what we have achieved. And you can imagine if you are given a grant for 10 years, the kind of throughput and the output we can. So we are very, very trusted. And therefore, I want to appreciate everybody, even the students, for leading the call. Majority, 99%. because you can also have students, and the students themselves are work. You are also researching on them as they are doing their research. So it becomes work, yeah? So they have made it easy because they have worked, and our job is just to supervise. So I want to thank all of us who are here, and before I sit down, I want to invite my boss, the dean, but he was 2 years behind me, so I'm still his boss in another way, to come and make some remarks, and then he will invite the chief guest for the occasion. When the VC comes, he will make his remarks at a later stage. Thank you. Dean.
Let us clap for Professor Gitau again. You know, in this function, he is the boss. He is a process owner in terms of the university system, as he said, because of the devolution of functions. I would like to appreciate my seniors, Professor Ngo, who taught us surgery. Nut to nut, anyone who is a veterinarian knows the nut to nut principle. I haven't had anyone express that as clearly as he did. Prof, I'm sure you appreciate the fruit of what you've done over the years. This is personal to me in terms of the generations that are represented here, including Hannah, and Harriet, and the things that they are able to do, Prof, is that in addition to the research work that they are doing and completing in a timely manner, they also assist with the undergraduate teaching. And their evaluation has been exemplary. Please don't deduct their stipend for that. I'm just saying that really the project concept has transformed the way human resources managed at university, because with the presence of PhD students, and the vision for our university is doing informatics or bioinformatics, and together with what Professor Thumbi is doing and his team, Professor Thumbi is doing and his team to use ICT for diagnostics, for data management and prediction. The other one is research and community service, so that research is impactful in terms of having received, developed the outputs. We are using this research to, impact the communities that we work with, not just in Kenya, but at the global front. The other one is innovation and commercialization. So I look forward to the diagnostic kits that will be developed, because I have a clue that there is such a thing. So innovation is good, but let us commercialize. This is one of the reasons we had a meeting where DVS was present a week ago, probably 2 weeks ago, but really just focusing on what we want to do as a partnership. I also confirm that Washington State University is one of our big 5 partners. So he wasn't bluffing as a university that we are deliberately partnering with that institution for that purpose as a strategic partner. Then we have people reform, people focus, where we look at our students and our staff, look at their welfare and so on and so forth. Sustainability of our programs in terms of finances, as well as the environment, management of waste and resources is key. And then our basic mandate of teaching and learning, which is where now this is important, that our postgraduate students progress rapidly to be able to go and serve society. With that as Dean, I am very keen to see the product of this workshop in terms of the progress of our students, progress of our supervisors, as well as the next steps. I'm more keen on the next steps. You heard what the team is saying. USID, you've done us proud as a team. We interact on other programs. Afrohun, the work you did last month is commendable. The work you are doing with the Transform program is also commendable. I would like to just appreciate you. And the work that you are also doing with the University of Nairobi as a corporate, we appreciate you. And everyone else who's been here, have a good session. I know that the Vice Chancellor will still come and do his part. Have I earned my tea? I come from a community that believes on tea. Yeah, iko sawa, Prof. Yes. Again, last week we had an engagement with the DVS. The DVS, Professor Maingi, you remember, was a member of the board. We need to get that office back. They are partners because the graduates of the University of Nairobi, we have 110 of them coming in 1 month's time. Will be on internship, and in addition to that, you are the employer of the graduate. So with this, may I request you to make your remarks, Director of Veterinary Services.
The representative of USAID, the representative of Washington State University, the Vice Chancellor, the deans, the chairs from various departments, representatives from IRRI, and also representatives from the county government. Ladies and gentlemen, students, good morning. My name is David Ojigo. I work in the Directorate of Veterinary Services in the national government. And I'm here representing my director, who again could not make it to this very important meeting, Dr. Alan Azegere. He got caught up in some 1 or 2 activities, and he asked me to represent him in this meeting, though on short notice. You know, as civil servants, we are taught to respond just like a soldier. You're not given time to organize yourself, but you're supposed to be always ready. So I picked my notebook and jotted something down, and I'm presenting that on his behalf. First of all, I would like to just say that we really appreciate the team that has been put together. And I would like, first of all, to say that here we have students or cohorts who we went to school with. I have also lecturers who taught me. I wouldn't be in order to fail to mention them. So I'll start by mentioning that Maingi was my teacher. I went through this school some times back for my undergraduate. Mande was my teacher. George Joroge was my teacher. And Joroge, across the other side, was my student, almost my classmate for 4 years. So you see, when they say you went to school, but who did you go to school with? Can you just identify? So by mentioning that I went to school with Joroge, I think I'm well covered. I'm not conning anything. I know you went to school with him. So maybe we can just clap, give a clap to our teachers. Yeah, they did fantastic work, and that's why we are here, moving forward with the agenda. And they empowered us to do what we are supposed to do as per our degree. And that empowerment is what brings me here, to do something in the public sector so that, again, we are contributors to the agenda that is ahead of us. I appreciate also that you have diverse fields which are represented here, social sciences, hard sciences, and that I think is a very good mix moving forward. I think the government is learning a lot, if I could say that. And we are learning a lot in terms of not operating in silos, breaking silos so that we can be able to benefit the community. All of us are working for the community. I think that is a plus. That's something which we'll need to carry forward from this project. I would also like to mention, it would not be in order to say that, we have two levels of government. I think for the time that you've been here, you've now been able to identify that we have 48 governments. One government which is national, and 47 governments which are subsidiary. But we work together, and we support each other in what we are doing. And I also like the way you brought in Narok County, because moving forward, some of what will be picked, the lessons learned, best practices, can then be applied for the other 47 counties. So I think that is a plus. I would also not want to take too much time so that, again, we don't interfere with the tea break, but I think it was mentioning that the national government, at the moment, has its own manifesto, and that manifesto is driven by economy. The bottom line is economy, and generation of products. A product which can be able to answer to quality, efficiently produced, and the national government has been able to identify 3 products which it thinks that once we focus on all our efforts on that, then the various innovations that we are generating, the various practices, the lessons learned that we produce, if we narrow down on those products so that at the end of the day there is economic sense in whatever we are doing, then we can be able maybe to move forward much faster. ATEC is the national government, is the Directorate of Veterinary Services. We are working with what we call Presidential Economic Transformation Secretariat, and within that, they are generating models which are data-driven and are going to drive further interventions down the line. That's a big thing. Initially, maybe what you are doing is just increase the budgetary allocation from one year to the next. And those ones who have worked in the government, Turasha has worked in the government, I'm sure Nkeshai has also worked in the government. What we normally used to do in the past is to increase the budgetary allocation by a certain %. But right now, our budget allocation is driven by hard data. What is it that we are seeing in the models that needs to be intervened, so that we cost that, and from that, then we can be able to give our budget on the same. That's one thing maybe I need to mention. And the models that we are intending to generate from the same, and what this project is generating, would then be scaled, would then be used to inform those interventions that the government is planning to do. The issue of scaling what is emerging from here, so that's applicable to other counties and to other interventions. We don't only have ECF as the only disease, we also have other disease challenges, which are many. But what are the lessons that we can pick from this ECF framework and be able to use the same to know better efficiency of resources and better results. I would like also now to narrow down on the role of the students. I think the students, in the way they are being brought on board, is a plus. It's something which you building capacity. If anything, that capacity, like you can note, is the one which drives the agenda. You don't need to mention it, So that capacity has been lacking for quite some time. I would like to actually State University and the effort put in by his team, including Dr. George Gitau, to put that concept together so that people can listen to it. We have that challenge the government didn't have identified, and that is the agenda he's going to sell in the US. And these products are beef, dairy, and leather. Is it sellable? I don't think it's sellable. But there's one which is really sellable when he goes there, and this one is knowledge. I think knowledge which we are generating here, we can also package it as a product so that the knowledge that these students will be able to possess becomes a product which we can then be able to package and for the African context, so that we can now come and negotiate on the table and say, this is a product from Kenya, we are knowledgeable in this line, we want you to support us to also commercialize it and be able to sell it to maybe other stakeholders, including other countries. So I think that is a product which maybe we also need to focus on, Professor Zombi and team, maybe moving forward. And lastly, I would like to state that maybe in the next phase of funding, so that you enhance your possibility of probability of getting funding, consider including officers working both in the public sector, in the county level, and also people working in the national government, so that you can bring in, that hybrid of people who have worked in the sector, who have experience, so that again they can convert that, they can move much faster, as opposed to freshers who maybe have also not experienced what it is in the field. So that with that hybrid, we can be able to achieve much more. And maybe you consider that point, maybe moving forward. And lastly, I wouldn't be in order also not to mention that I work in a unit called Livestock Identification and Traceability. We are now renaming it to call it ANITRAC, Animal Identification and Traceability. And it's very much related to what some of the students are doing here, including digitization, including data science, how we can be able to use data to inform the decisions that the government is able to make. So we are identifying the animals, putting that on a central database, and from the central database, various variables can be analyzed, and then we can be able to assist both entrepreneurs, assist in trade, food safety, and all that. And finally, I like the approach that you've done: environment, economy, welfare. I think that's something which the government will copy from moving forward. So thank you very much. And again, let me just declare this workshop open, and we look forward for successful engagement. Thank you very much.
Now let me wear the third hat, Camus 40. We are ready to start. So I request those who are still fellowshipping to move back to their tables. The VC will be joining us in the next 15 or 20 minutes. So we are going to make a little bit of a change. Hello at the back. Hello. Where, Mugabe? Hirare. I know if I mention names, because I know you, there will be silence. Okay, the change is like this. We'll start with the presentations. The 4 presentations that were supposed to start at 11:15, because we would want Professor Dhombe to make the presentation in the presence of the VC. So I will call on the sessional chairs, Dr. Gabriel Aboge and Zipora Bukani, to do a collabo for these sessions. So, karibu. But Dr. Aboge is near me, so he can start off. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, good morning? Yeah, good morning. So I'm happy to be here again to handle this session. We are together, I think, with Dr. Bukani. So my duty will be to call the presenters to come. And I think the time is how many minutes of presentation? 25? The shorter the better, so that we can manage time, yeah? Now between us is lunch. So I would like to call the first presenter, who is Dr. Henry Kiara. You are here. Yeah, you are present? Okay. Welcome.
I'm not sure where Brian is. It's not yet. It's not showing yet. Inquire from someone.
So we just request you be patient a bit. We are resolving some technical issues here. So. And one speaker is saying that maybe if it's not possible, he can present without this, if you allow him.
Okay, sorry for that. I'm presenting on behalf of myself and Dr. Kiara. Dr. Kiara was not able to be here because he lost a relative. The topic is improvement of the infection and treatment method, vaccine.
We are going to change the program a bit because I understand the Vice Chancellor is just around. So in that regard, you will present first. I think Professor Dumbi will present and then the Vice Chancellor will pick it up from there.
All right. I think we have just 1 minute before the Vice Chancellor comes in. But Guy, being a professor, he would like to speak about this nice paper that has just come off. Yeah, it's supposed to be show Zoom right there. Yep, go for it. There you go.
Yeah, I just thought, since we're waiting for the VC and who'll be here any moment, just to call attention to this recent paper which just came out, sponsored by the Gates Foundation, among others. I think the Wellcome Trust also supported this. But it's looking at a new metric. It's always been hard to how we actually quantify animal diseases, what the burden of them is, other than morbidity and mortality and things like that, or the direct cost of something that you can sell as a commodity. But obviously it has much greater costs than that, as was mentioned earlier. It also affects livelihoods and other issues. So this is a very recent paper, and I'll share the link. It's open access, so anybody can have access to it. But it's a paper done by several colleagues, including the second author there is Tom Marsh, who some of you know, who's worked on ECF, actually with Gabriel Taracha several years ago, looking at the burden on households. But they've come up with a new metric to actually how to measure the full impact of animal diseases in society. So I'll just share this with you. It's something they've been working on for some time, and it's just come out last week in Lancet Planetary Health. So happy to share that link with you.
Thanks. Guy. I don't know the last time you were in a lecture room giving a lecture, but well done. Right. I think what Guy is showing here is really important, because on the human side, we have a metric that helps prioritize what we invest in the human side. Call it the global burden of disease. So we have like a really nice attempt now to have a global burden of animal diseases, which I think speaks a lot to what Dr. Njugo was talking about earlier, that this country no longer just increases budgets, right? Like livestock is not just let's add some more budget. We need to understand where you put in the money. And I think this kind of metric is really important for the whole benefit of anything that we have as an intervention, whether it is vaccines or whatever else. But Bwana Vice Chancellor, karibu sana. This gentleman here is a good friend of mine. As a young veterinarian student, I think it was first year, just about first year, he had come back from his PhD. Then he was a young man, all white hair, there was nothing. I mean, it was all black hair. Talking about 23, 24 years ago. And I remember, and I have most of my professors here, in anatomy, we were taught by lots of lecturers who wrote on the blackboard for very long. Like they were nice artists, and you'd get into class and you'd have 2 hours just reading from the blackboard. But the young man then came and he had printed notes. Like he gave each of us printed notes, which I thought was very generous. And then he took just about 25, 30 minutes to introduce histology, whatever he was teaching us at the time, and then allowed us to go and read those notes. It was like such a new thing for me, having sat in hours, 2 hours, 3 hours in a class. And for some reason, we did some cut, and I think you marked me highly, which was very fair of you. And then wrote at the paper, please come and see me. So I went to see him, and that's where our conversation. I'm a scientist because of that one single day. So thank you. And I think that's what you're discussing here as the key thing about the Animal Health Innovation Lab. We are raising up the next generation of animal health researchers. I'd like to spend some. I don't know whether our colleagues online are able to see the presentation or not. So I'll try and share again, and then I'll start, and I'll not keep you because the Vice Chancellor is a busy man. I'm sure you have another place you must go. Great. So we are year 4. Actually, we are just about the end of the 5 year of funding that we got from our colleagues from USAID. Last year we met here. We took a beautiful photo. It just shows you the number of people who are involved in this effort as an Animal Health Innovation Lab. And it's not just the students, also the people who are supervising them, our colleagues from NAROC. We are a big group, and we are really fortunate to have each one of us. But also to really recognize our external advisory committee. Professor Patricia Conrad did mention that one of our colleagues, your colleagues, not my colleague, your colleagues as the advisory team, Professor George Waremwe, who is a professor at Oxford University and working at Kenya Medical Research Institute, is not able to join us, but he would have loved to. It's unavoidable circumstances. Okay, so let me fill you in as to why we do some of this stuff we do. For Africa as a continent, in the last 10 years, 2012, 2022, we have had about a 63% increase in the number of zoonotic events that have been recorded. That's one important continental challenge. The second is experience extremely high levels of undernutrition. And in this report done by World Health Organization Africa Region Office, showed that about 25 countries in the WHO Afro region record about 30% stunting, and even some much higher, more than 40% rates of stunting. In terms of economic welfare, we have got nearly 58 million people who are vulnerable to falling into, the poverty, below the poverty line. And these challenges of making sure we have less diseases, we have better nutrition and food security, and we have higher socioeconomic well-being of communities are really critical. And in a way, we could define them in a simplistic way as optimal human health. But what contributes to it is not just what we have as economics, but also what we have as a relationship with animals. So once, for families that fully depend on livestock as a source of livelihood, and our colleagues from IRRI actually have a nice tagline about livestock and livelihoods, that animals can actually contribute quite significantly to attaining optimal human health. But also, as you know now, environmental health is as equally important. The way we study this as academics and as researchers interested in transforming a potential impact on what people eat as one of the pathways. So if you intervene by improving feeding and husbandry, or genetic improvement, or disease control like we're doing with East Coast fever, that may translate to more animal source foods within families. And better consumption of those, particularly by the vulnerable population. These are women and children. And what we see is better nutritional status. Both the macro, what you can measure with your tips, but also the micro, which is what Dr. Bukania likes reminding us, the available micronutrients. So this is how the Animal Health Innovation Lab is framed. So our overall aim is to improve human nutrition, economic welfare, and resilience by removing one of the major constraints to cattle health and production. And in this case, we selected East Coast fever, which is perhaps the single disease that is responsible for limiting dairy industry in many places. Animals that are of exotic origin, once they come into contact with this Coast fever at early age, you have extremely high mortality rates. To do that, we focused on two potential products, one of which is vaccines, and the second is diagnostics. So for vaccines, working with our colleagues at the International Research Institute, we have looked at the old method, infection treatment method, and so we have got some of our PhD students improving that, either by the work that Harriet is doing on ITM, and also the work that Ethel is doing on gene editing for the parasite that causes East Coast fever, to the creation of the diagnostic tools that I mentioned earlier by Mugambi. And we look forward to hearing your talks about what advancements we have made in these fields. The second critical thing is, even when we have nice working products, it's not always that those products get to the animals at the places where they're needed most. So we have parts of this Animal Health Innovation Lab that look at how do we improve adoption of animal health interventions and innovations, and quantify both the direct and the indirect impact of that. Quite related to what Guy was showing here as part of the GBADS program. And also we are very proud of this third objective, which is creating a new generation of animal health researchers, and you have no idea what you'll do after this. We just know you're going to do great. So we are quite proud of that. The fourth one is, and I'm sure Professor Gitao, you could actually rise up and talk about it in length, but we now have an operationalized molecular and diagnostic lab right here at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Nairobi. So there are three main investment areas. One is on research, and I talked about the vaccines, the diagnostic tests, the nutritional assessments that you hear from one of our students, understanding adoption factors for interventions and innovations in animal health, and economic assessments. So as we are thinking about animal health in a holistic way that is connected to human health. And then in terms of building human capacity, we have an army of PhD students who, according to the dean, have been impressive. They invited awards those degrees, so I'm really glad to hear that. But also, we know after PhD there is a career path, and so we made an investment in getting some postdoctoral fellows, like George right there, and Hussein, who now I think has continued to be a scientist at IRRI. Initially, I think he started as part of the postdoctoral fellows supported through this. But also we have even a master student who has graduated. I saw her around here. Oh, yes. It's good to see you and congratulations. You are our first AHIL product. Huh? Well done. But also you'll hear a lot from the students that there have been numerous modular courses, being trained on statistics, being trained like Harriet and Hannah were on a 2-week vaccinology course co-organized by George Oremwe and myself. So these are the ways in which you have made that investment work for human capacity development. These pictures, we took them when you guys were starting your PhD. So a number of you have changed, but your names have remained. So these are an army of excellent PhD students. And as you can see, we are very well gender balanced. Huh? Because there is no way we can have a world with only half gender. On institutional capacity development, I actually debated, should I show the room before and the room after? I said, let's just go with the positive, how it looks now. So we have got this very nice lab just across here that has Clarity, funded through USAID, but also you have got like really good equipment. My thinking is that this is just the beginning. That what you have provided for is an infrastructure and a list and a group of young people that are able to continue with the science, and that we have a platform to build on. And so when you think about USAID, second phase of funding, we want to build on this. We started the program in 2020. Our PhD fellows were nutritional status among women and children. We look forward to hearing those. Yeah, I think we should actually clap because we've got our first master's student who graduated, and Mwema put this slide here. So it is him who put himself here because as he was working very hard for AHIL, he also got his PhD. So congratulations, member, as well. But also you have taken time to reflect and see where we have gone right, where we could improve. But as scientists, we are now just beginning to start enjoying the real publications out of our PhD students. So we have got one paper that came from Yoda and group on economics of East Coast fever, a nice literature review which you can build on. Then you have got Ngetich, who was working with Professor Gitao here, who has produced a paper. Then we have got our first master student as well, who has produced a paper. And I think we'll hear more from the students because lots of them have submitted publications now. So many of them will get published in the coming months. We have learned a lot. I think one strength is just we have been very fortunate to have University of Nairobi as a partner, and to have Kenya Medical Research Institute with Dr. Bukania, and to have Kenya Agricultural Research Organization, which Olum is presenting here, where John Mugambi came from. And I think here lessons you have learned about building our own local institutions and supporting the strengths of these different, US universities and local institutions to create the kind of products that you're now celebrating. Obviously, there are small little challenges which I would not even spend time telling you about, but you can read them. But the lessons we learn is that we have got to constantly engage with partners and stakeholders, but not just that, but be driven by the bigger goal of transforming society, which I heard from the Dean is part of our strategy. So let's go for it. We have changed direction for some things. So initially we had this imagination that we could have a vaccine created from different institutions and coming together, which we stopped pursuing. That's what we call the distributed model of ITM vaccine production, but George Mugambi will tell us, and John will tell us a lot about it. We have also found new ideas that we need to pursue. So the use of alternative diluent for ITM, which came actually from a private sector partner. So this we still want to pursue, and we'll make sure we do that before this lab is complete, first phase. And also the alternative oxtra tetracycline, which I think we'll hear about. And we work also with other innovation labs. So like Dr. Daya, we have talked about the brucellosis program, which is funded again by USAID together with our colleagues from the University of Florida. And that is taking advantage of the relationship we have got at NAROC to address one of the things that Gideon mentioned, which is the zoonotic disease like brucellosis. So this is work that is just beginning. We have a PhD in it to train more, but we really appreciate that USAID is continuing to support us in this. For the next 1.5 days, we review the progress and guide our Animal Health Innovation Lab PhD and master students, review the programmatic areas as guided by the thematic leaders of those, the leaders of those thematic areas. We are open to feedback, as Patricia mentioned, Prof, distinguished emeritus professor, that it's not to criticize, it's to give us feedback, and we're quite open to that. And then we'll have, obviously, the chance to go to the field and meet the farmer for whom we are all working really hard for and for our nation. I'd like to stop there. The last part is that we'll discuss the AHIL 2 application. Yeah? So the idea will be busy, Professor Getao, everyone else will be busy looking for those new ideas that will pass on for the AHIL 2 application. So for now, many thanks. I think, Prof, now you understand a little bit about it. I mean, you were there at the very beginning. You have kept in touch. So, but I'll let Prof Getao take over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dombe. You see, a good student. I had a chance to interact with him during his very last, were they semesters or terms? Yeah, the last weeks, and I examined him. But Dombe is more recent. I want to surprise you that the first student I ever stood before and thought is no more than the VC himself. That time I was in theriogenology, and I remember him and his classmates, including the former chair of the Council, University of Nairobi, Dr. Ide Farah, who was working in National Museum, walking in the phantom room for the practical exam. And this tiny young man was actually trembling, and I'm standing here very tough on theriogenology instrumentation. And I had a chance to examine the whole class. But I'm very proud that later on we are working together as a team, not just as a vice chancellor, but also his mentor. And we have walked through his life. We may not want to tell you here, but if Dube was to give us a dinner, we'll talk about those those details, yeah? So I'm very proud, and I think USID can see what we do here. We produce the best in the world, and we are not scared. We don't even compete with them. We just allow them to excel, and we are proud when associating with them. So it's a joy, it's my great joy to take the opportunity to invite the vice to come and make his remarks. So we are just interrupting the program a bit, but I want to request the Dean to come and invite him officially. Professor Mande, karibu.
Vice Chancellor, there was an earlier guidance in the morning by Professor Maingi that the more time you take, the more you infringe on tea. Now there is a big thing coming up for lunch. I do not want to be the cause. In order to adopt the protocol previously recorded, may I invite you to address this meeting? Thank you. Let's clap for him.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I'm happy to join you in this important meeting. Today I also had another meeting at Upper Hill on the release of the admissions, new admissions to the universities and colleges, what they call the Placement Service Board. And I was wondering how it's going to work, this one and that one. But Professor Gitao insisted that I must do both. So if you found me coming late for this meeting, the person to blame is Professor Gitao, not myself. I want to appreciate all of you great people who are here. I see the representative of Washington State University, Gay Palmer, who we have interacted for a long, long time, yeah. And Director of Veterinary Services, Alan Asegere. I don't think I have met him. Tico is representing him, yeah. Dr. Ojigo. And then ED representative, Musa Molongo. USA representative, Dr. Emma Bratton and Ernest Joroge, who I know very well. And members of the External Advisory Committee representative, Professor Patricia Conrad, and all research scientists, and all of you who are here this morning, including Sam Thombi. What Sam is saying is true. When I came back from Bern with my PhD, I made it a point to change the way anatomy lectures were taught to me, yeah, when I was a student.
Recording in progress.
And I would mark, and when I mark, I note on the script, exam script, for the best students and the worst, see me. So meet both from both ends. And then obviously now you realize that you have been noticed, And I think it's good, students, normally you'll be in a class, there'll be 100, there'll be 70, there'll be whatever number. And they're just a number. But when now you begin to notice them, they pay closer attention. And I believe that's why he moved on to, and we kept in touch actually throughout. It's true, Getawa also taught me the issue of instrumentation and how to restrain animals, etc. But I was not, as he is saying, very fearful. I actually enjoyed the course veterinary program very much myself. And interestingly, we did not have fears that we will fail or anything. No, somehow. I just enjoyed it. So even when I needed to come back, I knew I'm coming back to a good program. And so that's how it has been. So it's true that he taught me. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Adaya, who is here with us also this morning. This is, as Umi says, this is a program that I'm aware of from the beginning, from when the proposals was being done, etc. And I was very excited when I learned that University of Nairobi, ED, and Washington State University are all on this, and we have succeeded. And given the name of the program, that is Innovation, Animal Health Innovation Lab, University of Nairobi now has prioritized the issue of innovation in the strategic plan. We have a number of pillars, and we think that if we have to truly be competitive as a university, because we have to be globally competitive, we must continue to produce the knowledge, because that is our business as a university. And that we must also do what is necessary to transform the society. And I think this project, it's at that level. I have had the 10 PhD students. You expect that all those will write papers, as we expect, each of them 2 papers minimum, So that's a lot of knowledge that is going to be generated, and that is going to help the University of Nairobi and all the institutions that are participating in this to be anchored globally, to be as competitive. But even more that we are also developing the next generation of academics in this field. And selecting issues of, obviously, that disease of East Coast fever is something that has been with us for a very long time. But some of you who also live, interact with the people in the countryside, that it's a big problem. You just see that when there is challenges of feeds, and you go and buy hay from some source, and they have these dead animals. I have witnessed this myself. And then very good animals that you are milking, they just get sick and die, and you are saving them by going to buy hay. So, and then the family is affected nutrition-wise. I'm happy that that is also aligned. You are also following the issue of economics of it. So it is really a very transformative program. And we hope that out of these studies, that you will be able to get that elusive vaccine, because we have talked about it for a long time, that from this innovation lab, with all the partners you have, and with all this team, strong team, that we will be able to address this. And also that those who are involved in policy making will see that there is need to put money into animal health issues. In this country, we continue to import literally everything. I was just checking, even milk, we still import, If you look at the stable crops inside of agriculture, and we have so many schools of agriculture. We have only this veterinary school here, and I think Egerton also started. But whether it's maize, whether it's rice, we import, And as a country, obviously, we will continue to be poorer and poorer. But with this kind of project where we are addressing the issue of animal health and the issue of livestock, we hope that those who are in policy will put more money there, and we secure our people, our population. I also note that this project has, and you have shown very beautiful photos, that beside building capacity, beside transforming the people there, beside also working with other graduate students, we have noted that you are also impacting on them. You are also providing a hub, an infrastructure, where people can do cutting-edge research. Yeah. And so that means that there are other things, other people who are doing work related in this area that will be able also to come and do research and publish papers. I hope that that is also something that Gitawa and the others will be following. Who are the other people who are not necessarily at the core of the research project, who are also benefiting from this hub. So as a university, therefore, we are very excited to participate in this program and look forward to a lot of results and outputs from it, which we will be celebrating and having them also in our website. And wherever we go, we will be identified with the work you do. Asante sana and God bless.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor, Professor Kiama. I understand now we need to walk down to the entrance of the clinic for a group photo. So we can allow those who are arranging to move ahead, and then let's start moving from the back. So the last tables just start walking outside so that we have that quick group photo. Then we can back and continue with the program.